Today I'm in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, visiting East Coast Honda, and I'm going to test drive a 2019 Honda Passport in the touring trim level. Now this is a two-wheel drive vehicle, has the 9-speed automatic transmission, and I have another video on my channel with a complete overview of the Passport. So if you're looking for all the little details, all that is on a separate video. So before I get in, I noticed there's places for me to put my phone here on the door. I can put stuff here, all up and down. When I get in, I have a place to put my phone here, here, and here in the center. So I have also the cup holders open there in the center, so I can put it there. So I have places to put down stuff. So if I have things in my hands, just anything, I have stuff in the door before I get in the vehicle, and when I get in, there's ready to go, all that space. Now the seat's quite high. Let's go ahead and start it up. You know, when I get in, I'm always constantly trying to get the seat lower because it just feels a little bit high for me anyway. So I got the seat all the way back, all the way down. Have the lumbar full, completely out there as far as it'll go, but I don't really feel a difference there. I can feel it when I push it, release it, but pulling it out is just barely noticeable. Okay, so it does have the adjustable seat belts, which I can raise and lower like so. And then let's go and put that on. Have to kind of reach around this armrest in order to reach the seat belt and get that out of the way. I'm not accustomed to that, so I'm going to get that out of the way. Okay, so I have the trip computer reset. Adjust the steering wheel. Side mirrors. And I can fold these in also as well when I'm parking. It has a blind spot monitor system, and the indicators are here in the pillars. Which is nice once you get used to that. I think that's a little bit better for most situations. Okay, so it's a little bit cool outside, but I'm not going to use the heated seat. Okay, so it has the 9-speed automatic transmission, so it has these buttons here. So park, reverse by pushing that back, neutral, and drive. So I'm going to go ahead and select drive now since we're going forward. If I put it in neutral, pull that back, the backup camera and all that pops up here, rear cross traffic alert. But let's just go ahead and put it in drive. We'll push it again to put it in sport mode, but we'll just keep that in drive for now. And you'll notice a little green bar at the top of the screen here. That is just an indicator of how well we're doing as far as the fuel economy. Has a pretty good stance off of the road. Turn the fan down so we can hear the engine. So the 9-speed automatic transmission that is in the Passport, it's the same one that's in the Pilot, from what I understand. It's the ZF 9-speed automatic transmission. ZF is the manufacturer or the designer. And before we get going, the little RPM gauge is at the top, right above the digital speedometer. So if you're looking for that, it's right in here. And that transmission is feeling pretty good so far. And with the V6, that makes a difference. And you know, as far as my preferences, I like a larger displacement engine relative to, say, like a 4-cylinder or something like that. Now the ZF is it's an electronically controlled transmission, so it shifts a little bit different than, say, older transmissions. But I'm accustomed to them. So some vehicles, especially when they first came out, they felt like, it seemed like it was like a hesitation or a just a little bit different shifting style than other transmissions, and some people thought they had an issue with the transmission, but it's just kind of a characteristic of this particular transmission, the ZF. Now this one is not as pronounced as some of the other ones. This one, actually, you can't really tell it's a ZF, really. For a vehicle this size, the visibility is pretty darn good. You can see the blind spot indicator here on the pillar illuminate when the vehicle, here's a truck coming. You can see it illuminate there. But it's only when they're directly in your blind spot, so I think it's only like one car length behind the vehicle and beside the vehicle, but once it gets kind of like more in your view, it goes away. So you don't want to rely on that 100% because you know, vehicle may be approaching your blind spot rapidly, and you know, so they'll be there shortly, but they're not quite there yet. So you definitely want to look, of course, in your mirror and also over your shoulder. Now when we get out on this road, it's very rough. Surface of the road is very rough, so we'll get an idea basically what the road noise is going to be like on a super rough road. Now you can hear what it's like on a smooth road. It's pretty quiet. Okay, so I have the cruise control set with the adaptive cruise control. I have the cruise set at 65, but the vehicle in front of me is not going 65. Okay, so now we have that rough road. Have the lane keep assist activated. So we'll see how that does. Seems to do a pretty good job of keeping me between the lanes. And actually steers the steering wheel, the lane keep assist. And that's a different deal from the road departure. Road departure system that actually keeps you from flying off the road. This keeps you between the lanes, the lane keep assist, but you do have to keep your hands on the wheel. Yeah, this is fairly quiet. I mean, this road was very rough, and some vehicles are extremely loud on this road. But this is pretty darn good, all things considering. So the trip computer is showing average fuel economy right now of 19.5. Now, a good portion of that was going through traffic and stuff. We're just now getting at a steady speed on the highway. But we'll see what the average fuel economy is when we get back. This is the full trip since it was reset. Now, 65 miles an hour, I'm at about 1,500 RPMs. I don't know if you can see that RPM gauge, but it's there at the top. Now, if we put it in sport mode, it jumps up to about 2,200 RPMs. Let's put it back in drive. So I'm going to turn the lane keep assist off because I'm not accustomed to that, so I'm just don't want that to distract me while I'm driving right now. Alright, so this truck's letting me over. A lot of traffic today right now. Much smoother road now too as well. So it looks like I'm going to be around some big trucks, so we'll hear what the sound is. Blocks out that sound quite well. So yeah, here we go. That's a sound test. I think part of the visibility is improved by the seat being high up. I'm not accustomed to a seat being this high up, but it does kind of feel like a chair. Now the footrest over here is not all that great. On the left side here, it just kind of, it's all right, but it just feels like it's in a weird position or something. Just stay behind the slowpoke here, even though he's going fast. He's going over the speed limit, but everybody's driving so fast, it's like he's the slowpoke. So really like the driving this close to other vehicles, but that darn dump truck behind me, I don't want to be too close to it either. It's backed off now. Earlier it was pretty close. Has enough power. It doesn't, I don't feel like it doesn't feel like I'm, you know, struggling to go anywhere. I mean, I have enough pedal there, especially in this environment, to handle pretty much anything. So it seems like that's one thing that I really am a stickler to. I mean, I'd rather have a vehicle with more power than the average vehicle on the road, basically. And there's a little bit of a story to that, but maybe I'll explain that later. To why is I want a vehicle that's more powerful than other vehicles on the road. I mean, not just more than average, you know. I think it's partly a safety issue. So you notice that green bar at the very top. If I give it gas, if I push, it turns white. The greener it is, the best fuel economy I'm getting for the particular situation I'm in. So our average fuel economy has gone up to 23 miles per gallon, distance of 14.8 miles. So that highway driving has helped out. Now it might go down a little bit between now and the time we get to the dealership, but you should be able to see that fairly clear on the video here. The drive computer the whole time, the speed. I don't know if you'll be able to make out the RPMs. It's kind of subtle. Shows the speed limit here, which is very nice on the navigation map, because there's been plenty of times in which I'm driving along and don't know what the speed limit is. Maybe I wasn't paying attention to the sign, or maybe there's no sign. And one time I actually got pulled over because I thought the speed limit was different than what it was. And so it's good to have that connected to the navigation, so that way you can get an idea. So on those times in which you just don't know, and you can verify right there. So the 45 is right up here, and I'm wondering when this is going to change, how precise that's going to be. So we're passing the sign. Now, still says 55. Still says 55. See how far we'll go before it changes to 45. So it's using the navigation, so it's not reading the actual signs on the road, or it would have changed. And it could be that they changed the speed limit there to 45 recently and they hadn't changed it on the maps. So now we're back to 55 here. So it's just a very short distance, 45. So that might be why it's not registering on the map here. So I guess you can't rely on that 100%. The brakes are really nice. See, the thing about this vehicle, it doesn't feel like it's a fairly large vehicle in general, but it feels pretty nimble, and you know, it doesn't feel like a big cumbersome vehicle. Now I'm assuming if you had a whole bunch of passengers in here and loaded down with a bunch of people, you know, it might feel a little bit different, but right now it feels pretty darn good. So we're at 23.9 miles per gallon, 17.4 miles traveled so far on this trip. So I can go ahead and set the adaptive cruise control again and just kind of let it do its thing. I'll put my speed at 52, 55, 56. There we go. Okay, so now I have it at 2 bars, and it's keeping that distance. Let's go ahead and put it to 1 bar. So it's keeping our distance here at 1 bar right there. Alright, they're gonna get out of the way, and let's see how fast it accelerates now that they're out of the way. So it's accelerating slowly. So it doesn't floor it, that's for sure. So here we are running up on another vehicle. So now it's slowing down, and we're at a 1 bar distance. So it has a pretty decent distance, man. That truck has got some use. Look at that, the sides hanging off. Man, my truck's got 400,000 miles on it, and I use it for hauling stuff all the time, appliances and everything else through the years, and doesn't look that bad. That thing looks like it looks bad. But anyways, yeah, it seems like the distance with the adaptive cruise control is pretty far. So each bar gives you a pretty good distance. So even at 55 miles an hour, having it at 1 bar was fairly decent as far as distance. I'm not the type of person, I try it to my best, depends on the traffic situations, to drive close to vehicles in front of me. So yeah, that truck looked like it's hauling junk all the time or something. Has a bed liner. Okay, so we're at 24.5 miles per gallon, average distance of 19.1 miles traveled. Has a pretty cool sounding exhaust note too. Has a little rumble to it. I don't know if you can hear that on the camera, but it's pretty neat. And the steering is nice and smooth steering. Like I mentioned, it just feels like a smaller vehicle. Doesn't feel like a big, large SUV type deal. All right, here we are back at the dealership. We have a distance of 19.8 miles. Average fuel economy 24.3, and it just dropped down to 24.2 because we're going slow, I guess. So yeah, it's a pretty fun vehicle to drive. It has a pretty good turning radius and has good visibility. Feels good out on the road. It's very quiet, much more quiet. I'd have to get used to the shifter. Then the other vehicles I've test driven on that particular road, it's very rough. You know, it's a very rough road, so if there's any kind of road noise getting in the vehicle, you'll certainly know it then. Thing about backup cameras is they can give you, see how this is the wide view? Let's go to more linear view. That's top down. Let's go to the linear view. I don't trust them as much as I do my actual eyes. There's a little bit of a tight squeeze here. All these vehicles packed in. And the cameras tilt, the side mirrors tilt down. When you put it in reverse, that's in the settings, you can turn that on or off. Yeah, I need to go over a little bit. There we go. Now, when you're lining up vehicles in the parking lot, this is a little trick for anybody that wants to line up vehicles to other vehicles, is that you got this pillar right here, and of course the best way to do it is have somebody line you up outside the vehicle, and line the front of them. But just to give you a rough estimate there, and you can usually get pretty darn close, you just line up this pillar with the pillar next to you. So once that line up, you have to kind of close one eye and line it up to where all these pillars, I don't know if you can see that, line up with each other. So that way the front of the vehicle should be fairly close. Now your angle this way and that way, may not be perfect, but that's something you have to work on. But anyways, okay, so 23.6, let's go ahead and put that in park. 23.6 is what it's showing now. Distance of 19.8 miles traveled. And yeah, pretty cool vehicle. And I'm trying to figure out, yeah, that footrest, it has this pad right there in the center, but I don't know, it feels a little weird. I think it's just because I'm not accustomed to it. But yeah, you should test drive it yourself, because really that's the best way to do it. But just to give you an idea of what my experience is like test driving this, hopefully this will help you out with your decision, or your potential purchase or whatever. So thank you for watching. Thank you to East Coast Honda here in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and I'll see you guys next time.